Greetings, fellow Slayers, and welcome to Buffyverse June 2026. This year we're going to be taking a look at Season 6 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, let's kick things off with the first episode of Season 6, Bargaining, Part 1. The Scoobies patrol in the absence of the Slayer, who has been dead for nearly 5 months. Willow and her growing powers lead the efforts, and the gang, with telepathy and other magic from a perch on top of Crypt. The gang held by the Buffy bot, who helps the group slay silver vampires, and helps keeps Buffy's death a secret from both the regular and the supernatural world. Willow tried to make the robot behave more normally, but her turning never really goes quite as planned. Although the Buffy bot is doing its job fine, it also serves as a painful reminder of the friend they've lost. The next morning, Willow and Tara, who moved into Buffy's house and are secretly acting as Dawn's guardians, prepare for the day. Getting Dawn ready for school as Dawn prepares to take a phone call from her father, who they are also trying to keep Buffy's death a secret from. At one point, the Buffy bot, acting on his programming, hugs Dawn, creating an awkward and uncomfortable moment, knowing that the robot is a pale imitation of the real Buffy. The Buffy bot is sent to attend Parents' Day at Dawn's school. She behaves oddly, but other parents hear her comments in Miss Lifford's class as expressing concerns similar to their own, and the Buffy bot doesn't draw any suspicion. At the magic box, Giles and Anya are going over paperwork. However, Anya is angry at Giles since he has announced his intention to return to England and leave her in charge of the store, but he seems to go through it, leading to an argument. Xander and diffuses the situation before taking Anya's side, as she admits that she wants to announce their engagement to the gang. But Xander doesn't want to go through with it with everything is still up in the air in regards to the issue that they're discussing with Willow and Tara that evening. That night, Spike stays with Dawn while the rest of the gang have a meeting. Dawn suggests that Spike can leave, but he steadfastly refuses. Still feeling guilty that his failure to protect Dawn led to Buffy's death. The two then start a card game. The Buffy bot hunts a vampire but gets hit with a bottle and her motion skills are impaired. The vampire realizes the Slayer is a robot and quickly leaves. Anya has found, on eBay of all places, the last urn of Osiris. Willow's Please announces their plans to bring Buffy back the next night. Xander, Anya, and Tara are still feeling unsure that bringing Buffy back to life is the right thing to do, and something could go wrong. Willow insists, however, and stresses that Giles, Spike, and Dawn cannot know, and that because Buffy was killed by mystical energy, they have a chance of bringing her back. She tells the others of her worry that Buffy is suffering eternal torment in hell dimension like Angel did, and refuses to leave her there, and this makes them promise their support. Willow returns home to find Spike keeping a wounded Buffy bot out of trouble, the Buffy bot having been programmed to return if Willow if damaged. Spike angrily leaves when the Buffy bot instantly compliments him on his physique, a programming remnant from her sex bot days. And Buffy bot confides to Willow about Spike's constant shame in her presence. Without her real sister, Dawn tries to find comfort from the Buffy bot but doesn't get much. The next day, Giles engages the Buffy bot in training to make sure she is okay after being damaged. He also attempts to get her practice her breathing and to release her chi. Bonnie points out that teaching this to a robot is pointless. Giles realizes trying to teach the Buffy bot as if she were human, and the Buffy bot responds that every Slayer needs to watch her. Giles knows that, like any good watcher, he got a Slayer killed in the line of duty, and that all Slayer watcher relationships end the same way, and now his job is done. The Buffy bot instantly asks why Giles is still there, and Giles finds himself unable to come up with a reason. At a demon biker bar, the vampire hit the Buffy bot with a bottle and brags about his several Hellions, a gang of biker demons. Although the Hellions are uninterested at first as the vampire embellishes the story, he gets them interested when he mentions that the Slayer is a robot. The leader of the Hellions, Razor, decides that the gang is going to head to and trash Sunnydale. The vampire suggests that he'd be allowed to join in as thanks for passing on the information, only for Razor to behead him with bare hands before the gang departs. In the forest glade, Will invokes Adonai during a summoning spell and a baby deer approaches her. She suddenly stabs in the throat, collecting his blood for the resurrecting spell. She returns to the magic box, claiming she got the Vino di Madre from the black market. The gang finds a note from Giles, saying that he's already left and isn't one for goodbyes. not about to accept a silent escape. The Scooby gang tracks him down to Sunnydale Airport, and he gets a proper farewell with presents, signs, balloons, and tears. After Giles departs, Willow, Alexander, Anya, and Tara return home for final preparations and then head to the cemetery. They prepare the ritual, sit around Buffy's grave, and Willow begins the spell. While performing the spell, Willow's skin is cut by invisible blades. Large insects appear to crawl underneath her skin. A large snake is produced from her mouth, but Tara insists that it can't stop. Meanwhile, Spike is watching Dawn when the demon bikers arrive ready to tear Sunnydale apart. Spike recognizes the Hellions and knows that they would never come to Sunnydale. They didn't think it was vulnerable, meaning they know that there's no Slayer. Buffy comes across the gang and tries to stop them, but the leader, Razor, wounds her and she runs away to find Willow. The bikers following her, reach the cemetery, interrupt Willow's spell by breaking the urn of Osiris and scattering the gang's circle. One of the bikers tries to take Anya away, but Tara uses magic to get her back. Xander tells Will that the spell didn't work, and she passes out. Beneath the ground, however, mystical energy surrounds Buffy's decaying body. The fully restores it and returns the confused and frightened Slayer to life inside her coffin. So anyway, let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. Willow and Tara have moved into the Summers residence since Buffy's death. Tara will move on to Tabula Rasa, and Willow will continue living there until its destruction and chosen, with lengthy absence while she studies with the Devon Coven and lessons to same time, same place. Willow recalls Angel being sent to a Catholic's dimension, where he was in the episode Becoming Part 2, to Faith, Hope, and Trick. Giles leaves Sunnydale to England, as he intended in Buffy vs. Dracula, before Buffy asked for his help as her watcher. But then return after he's informed of her resurrection and flooded. Dawn describes herself as not being, or at least not having, the properties of the key anymore. In Storyteller, Andrew will say that Dawn used to be a key. However, her identity as the key remains, as she begins exploring in pieces on the ground, Part 5. Spike's protective stance over Dawn is a reflection to his inability to fulfill his promise to protect her in The Gift. The Buffy bot glitches and praises Spike if she was reprogrammed, as seen in Intervention. Buffy's resurrection will allow the first evil to exploit the vulnerability of the Slayer line in the following year in Showtime. Alright, now let's take a look at some behind-the-scenes notes, or some production notes, I mean. It had a production number of 6ABB01. Anthony Stewart Head has been removed from the opening titles. It's now credited as a special guest star. Alison Hannigan has taken his place at the opening titles and is now credited as, and Alison Hannigan as Willow. During the new opening credits, when Michelle Trachtenberg's credits roll, club buffer from Spiral is flipped. The front of Long Beach International Airport was used for the opening shot for Sunnydale Airport. Tara gives Giles a small room monitor that says, "Grr, arg," a reference to the end of credits logo for Mutant Enemy Productions. And now let's take a look at some broadcast notes. The show had run on the WB for the previous 5 seasons. This episode marks Buffy's debut on UPN, which will air the 2 final seasons of the television series. Buffy's move from WB to UPN was marked with the major advertising campaign proclaiming Buffy Lives. A series of commercials featured original scenes with the main characters discussing their lives without Buffy. The 2-hour season premiere Bargaining Parts 1 and 2 on UPN attracted 7.7 million viewers, the second highest viewership the show has ever received, behind only Innocence. When put into syndication, some parts of this episode have been edited out. Specifically, Willow's sacrifice of the doe to garner the blood necessary for rituals cut. However, it is included in the episode aired on Spike TV and Sky One. On Netflix, there's a cut scene where the Buffy bot sees someone playing with 2 towers in a plane. This is most likely because of 9/11, even though the episode was filmed beforehand. In some versions of the episode, Xander reads out Giles' farewell letter, while in others Giles himself reads it in voiceover. And now let's take a look at some pop culture references. The Sun Cinema is showing Dude, Where's My Car? The vampire who texts the Buffy bot wears a t-shirt of the band Hanson. Xander mentions having seen the The 1978 film The Fury, after Willow keeps communicating with him telepathically. Anya tells she got the Urn of Osiris on eBay, along with the limited edition Backstreet Boys lunchbox. Anya tells Xander about watching the Discovery Channel. Xander's worries that Buffy might eat their brains is a reference to to zombie horror films, such as the Return of the Living Dead series, in which the zombies eat their victims' brains. Ooh. And now finally, let's take a look at some goofs. During Joss's training session with the Buffy bot, after Anya enters the room, a microphone pole is briefly visible in the upper right corner of the screen. When Will's first seen on top of a tomb in the graveyard, lightning flashes are visible in the corner of the screen. In the scene where Will is about to kill the fawn, the pet carrier gate is visible when the fawn comes out behind the bushes. While the aliens crash the resurrection of Buffy, Xander tells Anya and Tara to go as he grabs Willow. Anya and Tara are seen running off. Then the camera cuts to Xander pulling Willow away from the motorcycles. You can see Anya and Tara still standing there being circled by the Hellions. When the Buffy bot is damaged by the vampire, it returns to the Summer's residence as part of his directive to return to Willow if injured. However, when it's later damaged by the Hellions, not only does it have for Willow directly, but was also somehow able to locate her at Buffy's grave. During the scene where Willow patches the Buffy bot up in Summer's residence, the placement of the Buffy bot's arms changes between takes. Oh, interesting. So far, I think this is a pretty interesting start to the season, and yeah, let's just say that I say the Buffy bot's days are numbered. So yeah. So overall, I give Bargaining Part 1 3 vampire steaks out of 5. But until wait till the next episode, Bargaining Part 2. So, until then, here endeth the lesson.